What's up, guys? How we doing? And welcome back to another podcast. So today I have Colin Campbell, and I think Colin's the first actual not PT on the podcast. So Colin, if you'd like to give a little bit about yourself and basically your fitness journey.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks for having me on again, Nathan. My name's Colin Campbell. I'm from a place called Bearsden, just outside Glasgow, hence the accent that the listeners are going to take a few minutes to get used to while we go through. My background is I am 26 and I work as a business development relationship manager in the insurance sector, really focusing on student accommodation at the moment. The reason on the podcast is that my side project or side hustle, whatever you want to call it, is a fitness Instagram, which I'll be sure to plug later on to get some more followers, Nate. But that page is something I've been running for just over 2 years now, 2 years, 3 months. And I post daily about training, nutrition, a little bit about my own journey. And it's grown massively in the last year or so. And it's a big focus for me outside of my own day-to-day 9 to 5 career that I have. Fitness is a big passion, and the Instagram is a great outlet for me to share that with the world.
Yeah, I think I've been following you for, I reckon it's been well over a year now, and in terms of seeing like how you've kind of grown your account. But what's like amazing about yourself is you're in the insurance industry, aren't you? And
yeah.
you have a full-time career, but you're still very frequent, and you talk about your fitness lifestyle. So what do you kind of do as like a job, and how do you kind of like relate that to fitness, and how do you kind of manage that the best way possible?
Yes, yeah, we've been connected for a while now, Nathan, and I think that's the beauty of Instagram, and I'm sure we can come on to that as well, in terms of like-minded people that can help to push you on and encourage you. But my day-to-day role is working for an insurance broker, which deals with student accommodation across the north of the United Kingdom. So my title would be business development or business relationship account manager, working specifically with universities and letting agents and accommodation providers for students. And the insurance is providing cover for students that live within the accommodation, but also the accommodation itself. So all these big halls of residence, student houses, student flats. And that involves me working with around 90 partnerships across the UK, meaning that I'll deal day to day with lots of different inquiries and queries, and making sure that the relationship that I have with these partners and partnerships is really strong. And then at peak times of the year, you'll be dealing with the renewal of these policies, what cover they've got in place. A lot of it is sales based, although there is a technical insurance side to it alongside the relationship management. And at peak times of the year, I will be out and about working with these partners to renew their policy, meet with them to understand their needs and requirements for the year. So my travel schedule is quite hectic, as anyone that follows me on Instagram will know. I'm quite often on the train or in the car, more often not on the train, up and down from Glasgow to cities all around the UK, really. As far south as Birmingham. My head office for the company I work for, the insurance broker I work for, is in Cheltenham, so I go quite far south in that regard. Sometimes in London, but not very often. I don't have any partnerships there, but we sometimes have team stuff down there. But yeah, all around the UK I'll go with regards to that, and with that comes a lot of organisational demands when it comes to fitting in fitness, so to speak, and that requires a lot of planning that maybe you don't require when you've got maybe a 9-5 office job. Even then, you will still require a really good level of planning, but it's maybe a step up from that in that respect, in terms of fitting in your training, what gym you're going to go to, where you're going to be staying, how you're going to get to and from the gym in your hotel or the gym in your meetings, or whether you're going to have access to a microwave, whether you're going to have access to a fridge, what food are you going to be able to access from the supermarket or cafe or restaurant that you're going to. And yeah, there's a lot of considerations to make, and that's something that I've improved on throughout my time in my role. It's coming up for just over 4.5 years now since I left university, and it's been a real learning curve in the first couple of months of doing that. And now I've got systems and routines in place that make it much, much easier, although obviously you're going to different cities all the time and different meetings or different environments. The template is still the same with regards to knowing what I need to be bringing with me, sourcing out where I'm going to be training, sourcing out where I'm going to be staying and what facilities that's got. And these are all considerations that I take into play when it comes to meeting my own fitness needs, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. Like, I always get like questions, or people say like, "Oh, yeah, you can go to the gym because you're a personal trainer and like you have so much time." Whereas I find it so interesting for yourself. You basically, like, the rule book you just screw up because, like you said, you have a job and you have to travel. Like you said, you sometimes have to go to like London, or I'm guessing it's going to be at least kind of like an hour travel, and you've got to do all these things.
Yeah, more than that, I would say I've obviously got accounts all around Scotland, which are quite easy to get to, and Aberdeen's probably the furthest I'll go in Scotland. But the majority of my high value partnerships are Leeds, Liverpool, Manchester, Lancaster, which are all 3 to 4 hours one way. So if I'm going up and down the day, it's 8 hours of travel, 9 hours of travel. But quite often I'll go down, I'll stay down, and then you're travelling outside of work time. But yeah, it is a significant amount of travel that's involved in my role at the moment.
So it's not just like when you talk about travel, that's what I want people to understand. It's not just like a half an hour there and back. We're talking like a long amount of travel. So how do you, let's take your week, for example, and your work, like how, and you've this over like 4.5 years, I think you said you qualified from university. Like, how do you plan? Like, how do you do it? Like, just explain.
Yeah, so I'm in charge of my own diary, and I'm based from home. So an area called Bearsden, just outside Glasgow. I work from my house, and that gives you a great degree of flexibility. However, in order to perform well in your job, you can't just sit in your house for 5 days a week. Otherwise, you would have quite poor relationships with your clients. Your results would soon start to be questioned by your colleagues and your management, which is really important. And so, yeah, I am regularly out and about. Alongside the kind of 90 odd accounts that I renew and look after, we have a number of new business within our role as well, which involves prospecting and finding leads and prospects and going out to meet them and then closing business. So that forms a large part of the role, probably about 4 or 5 months of the year. You've got a big focus on driving new partnerships and new income, and that's an area I really enjoy as well. And that's, again, you have to factor that into your diary in terms of when you're going to go and see people and what you're going to do. So again, in that respect, I plan my diary quite meticulously in terms of knowing the days that I'm going to be travelling, where I'm going, how I'm travelling, whether that's by car or train. My company are really, really excellent in terms of backing you to get the train more often than not, because they know that you can actually work on your laptop up and down. Rather than if you're driving, the only thing you really do is take a phone call, and even then, signal might not be fantastic while you're driving around. So the train been a huge bit of support that my current company do for me in terms of making sure that I stay on top of my administration and manage that. But yeah, I manage my own diary, so I'll be out and about at clients, I would say on average 2 days a week. So there's periods of the year where that's 4 or 5 days, but there's also periods of the year when it's 1 day or sometimes none occasionally, when you've got a lot of administration and follow-up stuff to do at home. But yeah, manage all my own diary so I can decide effectively when I'm out and about. But there's times of the year where, particularly I would say between March and June, when you're out 4 or 5 days living out of a suitcase or living out of your car or the hotel that you're staying in, and that requires even more planning. But I guess it seems funny now to talk about it so much, because it's almost second nature now that I'll be Googling the postcode of my hotel, I'll be Googling the meetings that I'm going to, I'll be looking on Google Maps how far they are from the station or how far they are from the meeting or what gyms are in the area. And yeah, there's a lot of considerations to do. In terms of, do you want to maybe focus on one area first, so we maybe look at training first in terms of how I do that?
Yeah. So how you kind of, like, for example, your training split, if you're doing like a push-pull legs, whatever, how do you kind of plan that out throughout the week, and how do you find the gyms? And
I've done pull legs probably for the majority of my time in this job. However, in the last year, where I've probably been more stretched by my travel than ever before in terms of taking on more accounts in more cities, just by nature of being more experienced in my role and being given more income to look after and oversee, which is great from a career development perspective, but obviously it's more demanding on your time as well outside of that. I would say that I went down to push, pull, legs, upper, lower, with the push and the pull sessions on the weekends when you've got far more time.
Yeah.
And I work Monday, Friday. I very rarely work weekends, if at all. And the kind of key rest days being like a Tuesday and a Thursday, because those are days where I would almost think I'm going to be working those days. I'm going to be traveling for 4 or 5 hours. I'm not going to put in the best possible gym performance.
Mm-hmm.
And accepting that's the case and working it out in my head and planning my meetings and my logistics around that. So I think you need to be realistic with your training split. If you've got a demanding schedule, even if you were working in an office job, you might still favour having your training sessions on the weekends when you've got more time to go in, warm up, prepare, have a really good session. You maybe had a better or a longer night's sleep before it, or you're a bit more rested, a bit more well fueled up on your food, rather than maybe rushing before work some mornings or rushing after work when it's rush hour and you're maybe not having the best possible session. Don't get me wrong, I've had some of my best sessions at 5 o'clock straight out of a meeting after I've had 3-4 hours of training the day before. The morning before it. But sometimes you want to prepare as best you can. So I would say even those that work in an office job, you may want to consider whether the majority of your rest days or any of your rest days fall within the working week, so that you can prioritise your training on the weekends if you think that's going to result in a more relaxed environment for you, but also a better adherence perspective for your training. The accessing of gyms is a funny one, and I think I've got it down to quite a fine art now. But
pay as you gym, isn't it now?
Yeah, there's probably three avenues that I've used during my time in this role. The first of those is national gyms. So when I first started, I was a member of Nuffield Health, which bought over the Virgin Group Health Club. They tended to have a lot of gyms in most of the cities that I went to, and I had multi-access, which meant I could access pretty much all of those gyms, so that was helpful. Alongside that, you've got national gyms like Pure. So if you have a membership for a Pure gym, as long as you're in the same tiering, in terms of, say, you pay $20.99, then you still have access to those gyms as well wherever you go in those cities. Whereas if you're maybe paying like $14.99 or cheaper, then you're maybe not getting access to the gyms in the cities that you're going to for Pure. But Pure Gym was big for that. I've had monthly memberships with them before where there's been no contract. Right. The second one, and this is a little bit of a sneaky one, you phone up the gym a couple of days before and you say in your best Scottish accent, I'm moving to the area with work and I'd like to try out the gyms in the area before I make a decision. So up for a guest pass. That's the sales side of me coming through. a bit of a wheeler dealer to get myself a free pass. However, that's not sustainable. So if I'm going to Leeds, for example, regularly, I can't sign up to the same gym 3 or 4 times for a day pass.
Yeah, they're going to be like, hang on, I swear you spoke to me like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Has it not moved yet?
It's the Scottish guy again. So that's quite funny. The third and the final way, and the first time I did this was in late 2014 when I'd first started. I used a company called Pay As You Gym, who I'm luckily now actually affiliated with, and Pay As You Gym have been fantastic for me because you effectively put in the postcode of the gym that the area that you're going to be training in, and you have a range of gyms where you can buy day passes. The day passes are always less than you would pay face to face with the gym because they're buying on a bulk basis, Pay As You Gym, in terms of securing those. and that gives you the option to buy a day pass or a 5-day pass, I think it is, or even a month pass if you were, say, for example, relocating for a short period of time. And that's been an absolute game changer for me, to be able to access gyms wherever I go, really, for a discounted cost. There were times at work where I was able to claim that through my expenses, but then there were other times when I wasn't able to do that, and I just had to bite the bullet, really, and pay for it, which was more often than not. But that's been a huge tool for me, and I've used that on countless occasions, and it saved me a fortune, really, because, say, for example, you wanted to get into a David Lloyd or a health club in that respect. If you go and you buy a pass, then you're talking £15, and all you want to do is go in and have a quick push or a pull session or a leg session. You're not going in to use the sauna, the steam room, or the tennis courts. You just want to go in and train.
Yeah.
So that can be quite frustrating. Whereas on Page Gym, they discount it automatically, and it's normally like £8 or £9, which is still expensive. But then you're looking at maybe independent gyms, and I've trained in some absolutely fantastic independent gyms. You type in the postcode, say, for example, if I was going to Essex, Nathan, you type in the Colchester postcode. I found a couple of gyms that are like really like cool bodybuilding gyms, and I think it's like £3 for a pass on Page Gym. Yeah. Where if I bought it direct from that gym and I'd looked on their website, it was like maybe £5 or £6 or £8. So you're making a saving automatically, and I guess you just have to prioritise what you're willing to spend on these. But Page Gym's a good way to get that cheaper, and the affiliate deal I've got with them is excellent in terms of being able to pass people on a bit of a saving, and they're able to buy a 5-day pass for I think 50% off. All the information's on my Instagram, and today's not a sales plug, but it's a genuine brand that I've used myself, and I'm really pleased to be able to pass on a saving if people are in a similar situation that they want to go and try a gym. The other way that I use Page Gym is sometimes on a weekend. It's quite nice to get a change of scenery. I imagine you're the same for that when you're training day to day in your gym at Sweat, and then sometimes you'll go to your other gym for your actual training sessions. Sometimes you think, maybe I just want to go and have a bit of a different environment on a Sunday afternoon or Saturday if you're training then. And you can get a cheaper day pass through Page Gym to do that. I did that on the weekend there. A local kind of health club, used the swim and the sauna afterwards, and the steam room and the hot tub, and it's just sometimes nice to do that as a bit of a change of environment, and that's again an area that I use Page Gym as.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting, and we'll get onto like sponsorship later, because we'll talk about my protein and stuff. But definitely, I think something like that, you're not the sort of guy that's going to like plug or promote anything you don't use, because this is something that you use for quite a long time, the Page Gym, and it's perfect for people like you said, even people like myself, if I want a bit of a change up. But people like yourself, where there's constant travelling, it's absolutely fantastic. In terms of nutrition, so you talked a little bit on there in terms of like you're going to have to see if like places got like microwave, you're going to have to prep your meals. If you can kind of talk about that, and then also if you're going into the summer, for example, say you're going IB for this summer, which I'm not sure if you are or not. Are you going IB for this year?
That's the plans, early July, I think. We've not booked it yet. We'll wait till Brexit all gets completed and we understand. But no, don't worry. We're not going to talk Brexit on this podcast.
We're talk politics.
But it's looking like we'll go IB again this summer for 4 or 5 days, and I'll be bringing some offensive condition for that.
So, like, let's talk about in terms of your work first, and then if we lead into in terms of, like, if you're leaning down for IB, for example, like, how does that affect your work? Do you feel like, because obviously, if we're talking prep, obviously, and it's a slow and steady, it's going to be very similar to what you do. Prep's just that little bit further, but still, you're going to be feeling like fatigued, lethargic. You're going to deal with clients every single day. How do you deal with that? So we'll lead into that one.
Yeah. So in terms of nutrition when traveling, the planning side of things is huge. You want to be knowing what hotels you're going to, or whether you even go to hotels. So if you're up and down the day, you do need to be prepping some of your meals, or you need to be aware of maybe, say you've got 3 meetings, aware of what gap you've got in between, to maybe jump to a Tesco and pick up a salad and a box of chicken, or whether you go in there to pick up some carb sources as well, so rice cakes or soreen or stuff like that. But often I will have that stuff with me, and that'll be in my bag. The main thing that I'll be buying on the road would be like maybe like a Diet Coke or more water, really. Other than that, I'll be taking with me like my main protein sources. So a shake of some sort, a protein bar of some sort. I'm very picky on those, as you know. And then I'll definitely have at least one meal with me that's like a lean meat and a veg. So maybe chicken broccoli or turkey sausages and green beans, something like that is getting me like a good proportion of protein to help me towards my target for the day. And also it's quite lean, so it leaves calories to be more flexible, because if I was going to a meeting and I'd had like a shake and my turkey sausages or whatever in the morning, I've still got loads of calories if I get offered to go for lunch at a meeting and somebody was like, right, okay, let's go grab a sandwich. I can grab that. You can go to, once you're tracking macros for a little while, you'll know that you can go to a cafe or a shop and you can get a roll without the butter, or you can get a baguette without the butter, and you know roughly how many calories are in a loaf of bread or a baguette or a roll, and you can get the chicken filling without too much sauce, some salad, and fill it up that way, and know roughly that you're having maybe 300 to 400 calories at most, and anyone can fit that in their diet regardless of what intake you're on. So you need to be flexible in that regard and just know what you're going to be having. So I would always have all my food with me. When it comes to an overnight, the majority of hotels that we stay in are Premier Inns. My company has a relationship with them where they get a discounted rate, and most cities you go to will have a Premier Inn that's pretty standard. You know you're going to get a decent bed, you know you're going to get a decent shower, decent bath, and it's going to be clean. It always works well for me. The majority of Premier Inns, the staff cannot do enough to be friendly to you. It's just part of their service standards, and I've had this when I've stayed in maybe a Hilton or a Hilton Garden Inn as well, and quite often the staff will let you put food within their freezer overnight or the fridge overnight. So if I was staying overnight and I decided to prep 2 meals, so I had one during the day and then I knew the other one was going to be tomorrow, and I still want that to be fresh and not give me food poisoning or an upset stomach, then I'll just say to them, would it be possible to put this in your fridge overnight and I can collect it in the morning? It's my lunch for tomorrow. And the majority of the time you'll maybe get a bit of banter like, oh, are you into the gym, or are you dieting? And I'll be like, yeah, I'm just trying to get look good in my bikini this summer. Just a bit of banter with them. And the majority of times the staff will help you out and do that. It's very rare that I'll get access to a microwave, so you just need to accept or at least choose foods that are going to be edible or enjoyable without being heated up. So you need to decide what meals those are. In terms of maybe things like oats on the go, you can always get like the wee pots. And if you went into a Costa or a Starbucks or a Cafe Nero, just buy a tea and just ask for an extra cup of hot water, and you can make your oats up. You can even take a Tupperware with your oats in them, or overnight oats, and just ask for some hot water, and you could do your oats in a coffee shop. As long as you're buying a coffee or a soft drink, then I've never found any challenge from staff with regards to having a bit of your own food at the table as well. And yeah, I guess that's some of the other ways that I'll get my calories in. But aside from that, it's all about having 3 or 4 protein sources with you to hit that target, and then filling out the rest of your calories with carb sources that are easy to access, that you can maybe take yourself, or ones that you can buy on the go, like bread, sandwiches, etc.
Can I just say, these are serious game changers in terms of the hot water at coffee shops, the free passes. You're giving out too much information here, I think.
Yeah, give away a lot of free information, Nathan. People should be paid for you for this shit.
Mate, this is content. If anyone's listened to that like few minutes, fucking get on that. In terms of kind of leaning down, so that's absolutely spot on. You kind of like prepare, but then give yourself a little bit of leeway. So like if you have meetings and you have to go out and eat, you know that you can do that. Let's go into like the summer, for example, and you're cutting down. Is that a struggle for you? Like, do you do any kind of cardio? Is it purely just nutrition, slowly drop the calories down?
the last time I did cardio for like really like regimented cardio to cut down was probably last year at university, so like 2014, so like 4 or 5 years ago. I've not really gotten fat since then. By fat, I mean like properly like fat in terms of heavy. At the moment, I'm probably the fattest or fluffiest that I've been for a fitness person. But even then, I reckon if I dropped 3-4 kilos, 5 kilos, maybe 6 kilos at the most, I would be very lean, if not stage lean, but not far off it, maybe like a couple of kilos off it. And yeah, I mean, I'm quite transparent on my Instagram about where my physique's at all the time. I don't always use old photos, although I'll use the old photo occasionally if I really need a post to do well, and I need a really eye-catching photo, and we can talk about that. But I would say that I tend to diet on quite high calories as well. So last year for Ibiza, I did a quick tidy up for 3 weeks before I went away. I dropped 2.5 kilos. A lot of that would be water, of course, but some of that was fat. And I was still dieting in like 3,000 a day.
Wow.
So I was still on high food. My steps were like 10 to 12,000, 12,000 to 13,000 if I needed to. And that's pretty much standard across the year just by nature of moving. But it doesn't affect me too much in terms of energy levels, because I would say the number one factor in terms of energy levels is actually being busy. So if you're very busy within your job or very busy within your lifestyle, you have less time to focus on food and less time to focus on how tired you are. There's obviously periods where you get to your very leanest, and I've been there in terms of being pretty lean, almost shredded. And
I think there's a picture that, sorry, just to butt in, there's a picture of you, I think at Ibiza. Is that where you're like serious? Is that what you're talking about, the serious?
I'm pretty lean. I that was 2017, I think. The one probably you're probably talking about. And yeah, I was pretty lean there. I was at 5'10", I was 67, 68 kg. So I was very light and very lean. I mean, I looked bigger than that just by nature of when you're that lean, you're showing everything really in terms of all your muscle. But I was light. I'm probably about 9-10 kilos up on that now. I'm about 77 kg just now, kind of peak bulk. Although I would say I've gained a lot of muscle within that as well. At that point, I dieted on like an average probably of like 2,800 before that. So I was still on really high food. I was still keeping the majority of my carb intake in around my workout. My energy levels were good. I was having like 8-9 hours sleep a night. And I think the factors alongside that are a big factor in how your energy level feels, in terms of like you're looking after your recovery. You're busy at work. You're not getting time to sit about and mope and think about woe is me. But at the same time, I think if I pushed it any further for a show, perhaps like that extra couple of kilos to take it off, I would envisage that would have an impact on work. But I would guess that I'm maybe in a position where I've got what some people would call like a low set point, where I'm quite comfortable at low body fat level.
Sorry guys, just had problems with a few sounds there. So let's go into like your Instagram. So I started following you, I think it was like late 2017. I think at the time you had roughly kind of like 2,000-3,000 followers. You now almost got 13,000, and we know that followers don't mean everything, and it's more the engagement and the content you provide. But in terms of, let's throw it all the way back to why you started an Instagram page, why you started producing content, like kind of why and how.
Yeah, I think personally the main reason I started producing content was I've always been really interested in fitness. I was getting more and more into the kind of aesthetic side of things as I left university, and a couple of years down the line I'd seen like quite excellent results really, and I was quite pleased with that, and I guess it was becoming a little bit of an identity for me. I had my own personal Instagram where obviously you post the odd holiday photo and stuff like that, but you didn't want to be posting about your training or what you're up to. Alongside that, one of my passions when I was younger was journalism, particularly sports journalism. And at university I did politics, so in both those areas I was doing lots and lots of writing, like long essays and paragraphs and reports. When I moved into my role as an insurance broker or an account manager, it's very much, I could write sales emails and sales kind of scripts and deliver those, but it wasn't quite the same. So I wasn't getting that same outlet to write and be a bit more creative. And I guess I just decided I'd like to start posting a bit more about what I do in fitness. I'd seen other people do it, and I thought I could add value in that space really, and enjoy it. I'd watched a lot of fitness YouTube at that point, but I hadn't used fitness Instagram as much or anywhere near as much. And I thought, yeah, I'll get involved in that. So that was probably early January 2017 that I started posting. Initially, I started with my younger brother, so that's the name was Campbell, and we both posted. I just enjoyed it more really. Ian, my younger brother, he's still very into his fitness, and he's got a pretty good physique himself, but he just found it was a bit more mature really, and I was writing all of the content, and we got to a stage where he said, listen, I'd like you to go with this rather than me. So yeah, I kept it on and carried it on, and I get a lot from even just posting in terms of writing up the captions about a subject that I care about and that I think other people might be able to benefit from. So from that perspective, I actually just enjoy that side of things. It's not just purely driven by, how can I get the most likes and the most followers. There's posts that I've written that I've been really proud of and pleased with, and I think a lot of people benefited from. They've got nowhere near the same number of likes or engagement or kind of hype or kudos around it that a photo of me in Ibiza that you spoke about there gets, and that's the nature of a photo-based app like Instagram. But yeah, that was the main reason that I started. The main tips that I would give, I would say, would be, one, start. If you care about it, start and stick to it. So many people, I guess maybe a point of contention, they chat shit about like how they're going to grow their Instagram and how they're going to grow a following and give value, but they post like once every week or once every couple of weeks, or they post sporadically for 3 days in a row and then go off the grid for a month, and they expect to turn up and it be like their Instagram to be booming and like people offering them sponsorships or offering them affiliate deals or saying like or they've gained like 1,000 followers. That's not going to happen. That's not the nature of the platform at all. So I would say start, show up every single day. I would say the sweet spot is to post roughly once a day. I would say any more than that you can do as you do, Nathan. One maybe focused on business like you said, and then one focused on giving a little bit more value around like topics that people really ask questions around. And then thirdly, I would say trying to post as good quality as possible. So that would be like maybe the photo or the video that you're using, to use like a good quality image or a good quality video, because that's what Instagram rewards when it looks aesthetic and well presented on your feed, and that's what people respond well to. I've been guilty in the past of just banging up a screenshot from a video and hoping it looks okay, or maybe a photo that's a bit dark or blurry. Ideally, obviously it's important to keep showing up, but try and get decent content and try and post that, because that'll be rewarded. And I guess finally, when you're starting, have a bit of an idea of what angle you want to go from, whether you want to be an informative fitness account where you're posting about subjects that a lot of people will ask you about from maybe a coaching or a guidance perspective, or whether it is just purely about tracking your journey and where you're going and being like a personality that people want to follow and engage with in that respect. And you can obviously do a mix of those, but having a predominant side of one of those will be the most beneficial for you to grow as an Instagram, because people then know what it is they're going to be following and engaging with each day, rather than being surprised by the content they see on a page that they've decided to click the follow button on.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that you say that, and from my personal opinion, I think when you start on Instagram, it's a very clever platform, because Instagram, you're posting pictures of yourself. It's a platform for you to show what you're about, but to get in, and we'll talk about engagement in a second, but to get in good engagement and to provide as much value as possible, you want to be posting your kind of personal journey, but then how on earth you can help someone else. And that's not just a personal trainer, online coach. It goes to people like yourself or anyone like that where you're trying to give advice. I see so many accounts where they'll put a post up of, here's my 100 kilo squat, and like the next day or next couple of days it's like, here's my, which is cool, and it's nice to see that. And there's so many guys that I follow, I do it myself, you want to see the progress, but it's like, okay, are you given any kind of tips, like how do you squat, like what are the cues that you take, and everything like that. In terms of when you first started 2017 to now, what have you kind of like learned in terms of the platform? What works?
Yeah, so I would say number one, good quality photos, like I've mentioned, will be a big thing in that. People like you to be shredded and lean, and that will always get the most likes because it's eye-catching. However, like you said there, the long-term engagement you get will come from when you present something about yourself potentially. So maybe this is the leanest I've ever been, how I got here, 3 tips to how I did that. So you're showcasing that, but you're also trying to provide some sort of information that people can action behind it. Alongside that, there's been times when I started especially where maybe I posted stuff that was too high level, and that's not to be self-important or looking down on people or trying to be too intellectual, but potentially posting language or jargon that is too isolating to the general population who actually want to learn and action something. So in recent months and in the last year, I've certainly tried to take information that potentially is of a higher level. So maybe you've listened to a Jeff Nippard video, or maybe you've watched a podcast or listened to a video with Brad Schoenfeld or Alan Aragon, or somebody who's incredibly informative within the science. My number one thing that I'll try and do on my page, and I've spoken about it a couple of times, is I'm going to try and take that really high level information, I'm going to digest it and understand it myself, try and action it myself, of course, but also share and teach others potentially how they could incorporate that information into their day-to-day or their lifestyle, rather than just saying, oh yeah, I read this really high level study and they said that this percentage was the best for improving your musculature, and it's just too scientific to post on Instagram and expect people to think that was really helpful, Colin, rather than saying, well, this is the information that I've digested, my actionable tips would be try and do 3 of the following, or try and do 4 or 5 of the following. And it's lists are popular as well on Instagram, when you do like lists of things that people can do, and I'm sure I see that within the themes of your posts as well, where you're saying 3 ways to improve your back, or 3 ways to improve your nutrition, or 10 simple steps for fat loss. That kind of stuff is so popular, and people will save that and they'll go away and they'll look at it and they'll see what's valuable.
Yeah, no, interesting you say that. I think that's something that I've definitely learned from the start. I remember like when I first moved to Shelton, I first become a personal trainer, I'd sit down, I'd be like thinking like, oh, what can I post tonight? Oh, let's talk about if it fits your macros, and like I'd do a whole post on it, decent information. But like you said, as soon as someone starts reading that, they're going to think, oh, it's either same old, it's too long, it's not easy digestible. Whereas you want that content, obviously you can always mix it up, but something that you've got to think, like if you're reading it, is it short, sweet, easy to learn, easy to apply to yourself, and that's a massive point. So in terms of engaging on social media, we always talk about the word like engagement and like all of that, and I think for yourself, you're probably one of the top guys that actually, when I say properly engage, you actually read the post and you actually talk about it, rather than just commented like a thumbs up or like great post, or those kind of posts. So how important do you think engagement is for social media, whether that's boosting your own social media or, what do you think?
Yeah, so there's probably 2 reasons that I would say that I try and offer genuine engagement. Number one, to support people that, I would say 3 reasons. Number one, to support people that are putting out good content, because there's so much rubbish that it's worthwhile promoting the stuff that's excellent. And obviously people like yourself, Nathan, and other people that I follow are posting stuff that people can genuinely learn from and improve their lifestyle. Look around the gym, and 90% of the people, and that's probably being conservative, are not getting anywhere near what they should be from that session. By following or reading or liking or engaging with and taking on board the information that decent level fitness accounts on Instagram are putting out there, they would undoubtedly improve the quality of their session and the quality of their physique potentially in the longer term. So yeah, always want to support people. Number two, I actually did this before I heard this, but Gary Vaynerchuk talks about giving your 5 cents a day. And when you read something, try and give your own opinion on it, because that's interesting, and people will see you commenting on that and think, oh wow, they've taken this in and they must have opinions that they share on their page. Maybe I should go and follow them. So you're putting your brand out there, but also making some considerations in that respect, and that at the same time is helping out the person that you want to support. And yeah, number three, I guess from a reciprocity perspective, people will reciprocate, and your posts will be busy and vibrant in that regard as well. And that helps with the dreaded algorithm that we all talk about in terms of making sure that people are seeing your posts and getting value from them. A busy comment section that has sincere engagement is better than one that has either no comments or just like your standard bots commenting like emojis or saying looking sick bro or something like that, which even people that aren't bots are doing that as well. And that's fine if they think that's the best way to grow their account, but the proof's in the pudding when potentially you, Nathan, you're asking for people's business and saying, I want to be your online coach, and they're saying, well, your content's been fantastic, absolutely. Or they've seen you comment on maybe my post or somebody else's post, and they've seen that he's really considerate about this topic. Maybe I should go to him for advice on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think if people see me post like nice photo and it's a video, like one of those bot comments that you always get, you probably think fucking idiot, like, and you get that more often than not. But especially like I said with yourself, you actually apply some value to a post rather than just like, oh, great post, mate. Like, you've got it absolutely spot on. So in terms of the kind of last question before I go on to the questions, in terms of yourself, where do you kind of see yourself going in the next few years? I don't know if you want to speak about it here or not, but in terms of your next job role, in terms of that, and then also fitness, like where do you see yourself in the next kind of few years in progress?
Yeah, so focusing just on fitness, I would say I want to continue to grow that Instagram platform and provide value every single day. I'll keep showing up, I'll keep providing information that I hope is valuable. One of the ways that I do that, and I know we touched on before we started recording, was I will take a period of time either each night, maybe if I'm getting some steps in the morning, or if I'm on a treadmill and it's getting some steps or some cardio, or if I'm on the train late at work and I've finished all my emails and stuff like that, I'll write some posts and I'll start to bank those in my notes. And a lot of that comes from the questions maybe that somebody will ask me in DMs, or other subjects that I've seen other people post about that I think I can credit them and say that was a great post that Nathan did on flexible dieting. However, here's my take and what I do in my space, and here's what maybe you should do. So I'm always trying to create content that's relevant, and I'm trying to bank that up as much as possible. The last thing I want to do is get to 7 o'clock at night and think, what's tonight's post going to be? And that's when you put out something that's shit, really. But alongside that, I like to have a wee structure as well, where Monday's Monday Motivation, Tuesday can be Transformation Tuesday, it can be Tricep Tuesday, Wednesday can be whatever, Thursday's always going to be a throwback, Friday can be Flex Friday, Saturday I tend to be a bit more personal, and I'll say like, this is what I'm up to with my training and this is what I'm doing for the weekend. And then Sunday night I'll have something that's very informative or quite a long caption, because Sunday night people are always scrolling the gram and they're gonna give you their attention for a couple of minutes. So that definitely helps me to have a regimented routine with regards to putting out content on Instagram and helping me grow that. I don't have like a set follower target or anything like that I want to get to. 10k was always the was always the goal, and I've surpassed that now because it gives you the option for the swipe up on your stories, which you can direct people to whatever you're looking to choose. And I guess it's just, in a selfish way, it's gratification for the work that you've been putting in over the years to grow to that particular number. But I don't care about any number beyond that, really. I guess obviously people will be like, 100,000, but that's so far away, it's not even worth considering how I would get there and what it would take to do that. But yeah, continue to grow that platform. One of my goals for this year was to work with an affiliate brand that really backed me, both in terms of the saving that I would pass on to my followers, but also from a financial and remuneration perspective with regards to product. And yeah, thankfully at the end of January there, I signed a deal with My Protein, which is it's been excellent for me in terms of working with a brand that I've always bought from previously, and also giving 35% off to everyone that follows my stuff for products that I've bought for years myself and can recommend wholeheartedly. And then obviously there is a commission element to that, where I have a financial backing and the ability to receive a large amount of product each month to fuel my own training and my own gym wardrobe. So that's been great, and I would say that's an ambition for myself, to grow that and really make that a great channel for me with My Protein. Build on that. I've started working with Paisley Gym, as I've mentioned. That's another brand that I believe in. But my page will never become a walking, talking advert for stuff that I don't have an affinity with already. So if, for example, a clothing brand that I've never heard of is saying to me, we want to give you £100 voucher a month, and you just have to post 3 times a week our stuff, and I don't like their stuff, it's not going to happen. And it's been the same. I've been offered a couple of paid adverts for whey proteins that I've never tried or bought before, and I've been sent the samples. I've either been unimpressed by the taste or the texture of it, or they've sent me it, and this is the worst one, they sent me in a white bag, like a wee see-through bag, no nutritional information, no labelling, just wee bags. And that got delivered to my parents' house, because this is where I have my office rather than my flat. And I got that out, and my mum was looking at me like, what have you just done here? And I show my brother as well, and he's like, that's just so unprofessional. So obviously I'm not going to put a post up for, say they gave me 50 quid to put a post up and be like, I love to take this whey protein after my workout. That's bollocks. And to do that would just be so disingenuous to anybody who's had the kindness or or made the decision to follow my page and keep up to date with what I'm doing. But that's the nature of Instagram, where you will have people that will sell out in that respect, and you can call people a sellout for maybe having an affiliate deal, but other stuff with companies that you don't believe in is the worst. Nathan, honestly, it makes me really question people's integrity.
I think sometimes as well, you see in someone's Instagram bio, and it's save 10% off of a random clothing company you've never heard of, and it just doesn't make you look authentic. And I think if people don't understand that, you've got to think what is a sponsorship, and for yourself, that's why you're spot on. And I know you say you're not plugging and stuff, which you're not, because what you're doing is you've got 2 different sponsorships that you've worked firstly very hard to get, and 2 things that fit in with your lifestyle, fitness, work, everything like that. So that's your sponsorship, and that helps you out massively. But if someone just random that has just 1,000 followers, or however many thousand followers, and is promoting 10% off random clothing tee, it's not authentic at all. And it's interesting that you said that,
especially when you've never seen them wear that t-shirt until they got sent it.
It just
if you've never affiliated with a brand that you don't like their stuff, don't promote it. I've been sent lots of t-shirts over the years, and some of them are great, and I've been really happy to wear it in posts and show it, and I would have bought it myself. But then you get others that you're just there's no way I would wear that, and if I hadn't been sent it for free, I wouldn't have even tried it.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of it. So I think being honest on my page as well has helped me with regards to people kind of feeling that what I'm saying is legitimate, rather than a paid mouthpiece for a two-bob outfit that are selling gym t-shirts that they've just imported from China for very little.
So true. That's it's so true. In terms of just last thing before we get to the questions, in terms of your job and stuff, you potentially switching jobs and
Yeah.
from there.
So I'm looking at, I am in a couple of weeks' time. We move into a new role with a commercial insurer. So at the moment, I work in a very niche insurance sector. It's been fantastic, and I've really enjoyed it. But this opportunity kind of came to me through social media, actually LinkedIn, and I'm really looking forward to moving into a commercial insurance environment where I'm doing something a little bit more technical, still with all the sales focus, which I really enjoy in terms of dealing business to business with people, building rapport, closing deals, and talking money, which excites me and I do enjoy. And one of the reasons that I've never gone into fitness full time or become a PT or an online coach is because I still get a buzz from the career that I have, and that's hugely important for me. Otherwise, I would have gone all in on my not that I'm not all in on my Instagram. I am consistent with it, and I've posted every day for 2 years. I haven't decided that's the career for me because I still get a buzz out of business to business, relationship management, sales, and insurance. So what I'm going to is going to be a little bit more technical, hopefully dealing with even more income. That's what excites me. At the moment, I deal with a good amount of income. We won't disclose any figures online in terms of what I deal with in terms of my customer book, which has grown lots over the last 4.5 years. But I'll be going to a space where I get to deal with potentially millions of pounds, and that excites me even more so than what I do at the moment.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that you say that. And in terms of, I think it was the other day, or maybe a month ago, I listened to the podcast, the Grow podcast, and I'm so sorry, I completely forgot his name again. Rowan, isn't it?
Yeah, Row,
that's it. Yeah, and you talked about that's the only thing stopping you getting into the fitness industry is your love for sales and what you do at the moment. So I'm guessing if that passion if the fire wasn't still lit there, you'd perhaps look at changing careers. But at the end of the day, you've got absolutely spot on in terms of balance of work, lifestyle, gym, everything like that. So, but that's interesting, mate. And honestly, like that, I've known you for a while. You've come along such a long way in terms of what you're doing, and you're still very authentic and you're still very honest, like you say, which is perfect. So questions. I put my poll on Instagram, some questions. Got a whole mixture here. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are, Nathan. I'm just waiting with trepidation. I've got some. Whenever I open up my Q&A, it's a wide range of fitness, lifestyle, work, and then relationships. So I'm always getting. Now, don't get me wrong. I get solicited by some people, and you're like, oh, that's a nice offer, and it's a bit of flirt and a bit of fun. But then you get others that you're like, wow, this is not of interest to me, I'm afraid. And I guess you're obviously in a long-term relationship with Carly, and I think it's really good when you guys share your content on there, and she's so supportive of you. But then when you're maybe not been seeing somebody for that long, or you're not serious with somebody, I don't want to be putting them all over my Instagram. And in the past, I've never done that when I've been seeing someone, and you still get those questions like, are you single? Like, who are you seeing? Like why do you never share that side of things? And I guess it's a privacy side of things. I guess if you've seen somebody for like 6 months, a year, whatever, then of course they're going to pop up on your Instagram because that's the nature of it. But to put that pressure on yourself and the person that you're seeing within like weeks or months of knowing them and exposing them to thousands of people for no reason other than that you decided to tag them is a risk. So when people are like, oh, are you single? Well, even if I wasn't right now, then they wouldn't know until further down the line.
Yeah, until further notice.
Exactly. Hold tight.
I think it depends on the personality you are, because somebody could be potentially seeing someone and then within a few days they're on Instagram because they want people to be nosy. So you'll have people that are like that want that kind of attention. Whereas, like social media, you put everything about fitness and your lifestyle and everything like that and work related, but some things are private. And
definitely. It's the pressure on the other person as well, because maybe they'll get some messages or some followers, and maybe that's not positive. Or say they disappear off your account within 2 weeks, and people are like, "Oh, what happened to them?" And you're like, "Well, didn't work out. It's none of your business."
That's it.
It's funny in that regard. Like I'm very open in almost all respects, but I definitely wouldn't put that pressure on myself or on the girl that I'm seeing or have seen in the past to put that pressure on them. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, I think I always see in your Q&A like, oh, are you seeing someone? I'm thinking like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, where are the actual like fucking real questions? Like,
get the fittest questions in, people.
That's it, man.
Let's get on to these things.
So yeah, talking of fitness questions, someone called Johnny has asked, any tips on a reverse diet? So let's talk about, like, let's kind of relate it to yourself. Again, let's go back to Ibiza. So you've just gone to Ibiza and you've come back into work mode. You're on lower calories. Like, how do you reverse kind of from that?
Yeah, I would say from a personal perspective, I've probably done a couple of reverse diets where I've had and I think they only really have their place where you've done like a 6 to 12 week cut, potentially longer. When you've done like a mini cut, I don't think you need to be reverse dieting because you're in and out really quickly. You're wanting to get straight back to whatever your goal is. But for a reverse diet, when I've done it, I think the first time I did it, I did the whole adding like 5 grams of carbs a week or something like that, which is like, 4 times, like 20 calories or something stupid like that. And that was too slow because you're actually still in a deficit. So number one tip for me would be get out of the deficit that you're in. The considerations you need to make are the fact that at a lighter body weight at the end of your cut, you're going to need to know that your maintenance is probably lower than it was when you started it because you were maybe 5, 6, however many kilos heavier. So I would say get yourself up to maintenance, track your body weight in the same way you did in your cut. After a piss or a shit in the morning, when you get out of bed, before you have any water, weigh yourself, take the average 7 over the 7 days and see where your weight is trending and what it's doing with your calories. I would then add conservatively, so maybe 100, 200 calories a week. See what that's looking like. It's not a race at the end of the day. And your calories are your calories. I see so many people asking like, oh, how can you eat 4,000 calories and not just be a fat mess? Well, my body's different to your body. Nathan, you got up to, God knows what you were intaking in your off-season the year before your prep. You were on huge amounts of food, and that's obviously different for everyone. And I know guys that have more muscle than me, but are maybe less active, and they would go like soft and completely fat as a bull on like 3,000 calories. They're bulking like 2,800, and that's just the nature of the game. So don't have like an attachment to I need to get my calories to 4,000 or I need to get my calories to 3,000. Just add it in incrementally as the weeks go on and track how your body weight's going. A period of you not gaining weight or not gaining weight at too fast a rate when you're reversing is probably a positive thing because then you're holding condition, you're getting a better relationship with food, you're not blown out. But I guess reverse dieting's quite a scientific topic, but number one for me would be get yourself to maintenance so you're not losing any more weight, and then slowly add in calories from there, not too slowly that it's ridiculous, like 5 grams of carbs and a gram of fat like I've done before. But I would say maybe 100, 200 calories a week, see how your body looks, how it responds, how the scale responds, and you'd be surprised at how quickly your calories will start to build back up to a level that you're really happy to maintain body weight at. And you might even, I don't even know I want to say this, but you might even boost your metabolism in terms of you do have the ability to increase your metabolic rate when you're coming out of a depleted lean state and building up your capacity to deal with food.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think definitely the point you made about individuality, like what worked for you, what worked for me, is completely different to everybody else. It was interesting that you said about my off-season. I think I went up to like just over 5,000 calories. Yeah. At that time, I did push it too high. Like the off-season now is a little bit different. And I probably would go up to that number again. But I'll be a different like kind of body composition completely. And but people didn't realise, like I'm 6'1", I'm a personal trainer, I'm always on my feet. I think at the time I was doing 2 different spin classes a week. I was so active, so someone would just look at me and be like, 5,000 calories, fuck, like that's how much I need to eat. Whereas if I was maybe a 9 to 5 job, I wouldn't be eating that amount of food, but I had to. In terms of reverse dieting, I fucked up massively in terms of my prep. And I think a question you've asked me before is, would I go on holiday again after my competition? Which
that was one of my questions when we were talking about prep.
Yeah, and I think that I would. I think prep will be slightly different next year, but because I put on quite a lot of weight. Obviously, I ate a lot of food on holiday, and I came back and I kind of cut down, and then I got into the habit like you, where I didn't want to put, like, I had this kind of love-hate relationship with food, as I didn't want to get back into a surplus again. So I think the best thing to do is, when you come back, put the food up, because like you said, you're still in a deficit, and then when you get to a point, slowly introduce the food and stuff. So
I think the last thing you want to do is come out of a cut, go way the other way, and then need to mini cut within a short period, because that's going to mess with your relationship with food. Like, needs must sometimes. Obviously, coming out of contest prep, you go on holiday, you're gonna balloon up a little bit, and you want to do a tidy up. I mean, as it was for you, it was like a tiny, like, I think you were like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You weren't exactly like mini cutting for ages.
Yeah, I was still, even when I came back from holiday, I'd hate to think how much I was eating and stuff, but I was still relatively lean, which is crazy. But yeah, I did have to pull it back a little bit, a few weeks.
Yeah, you pulled it back a little bit because you've got that kind of body image from your contest prep, and it's important to be in a good position to start like a long bulk, which you've committed to completely, which is great, and again a lot slower this time than the 5,000 cal that you got in the last time. But you probably will get to 5,000 calories in order to push the weight on towards the kind of 100 kilo mark, whatever it is you're going to move towards. But you're getting there slower, and you can maybe do it on 4.5, you can maybe do it on 4,600, rather than like the other side effects of when you go that high with your food. Because even at the moment on 4 for me bulking, I'm finding like there's days when I'm like, Christ, I do not want any more rice, just give me some Cocoa Pops, like you're just like, or Council Pops, supermarket brand only. So, honestly, buy supermarket brand only cereal, put the money away into a savings account that you save, and then you can buy a flat like me and you'll be happy.
That's it. That's how you paid for your new flat, is it just Council Pops?
Small changes like that, mate. That and don't wear socks.
the Angle Gang. Mate, serious fucking tips here. I tell you. Serious fucking
value from the boys today. Value from the boys.
Mate, serious. Cool. So next question. This is from John, and I think John asked you a few questions as well. I think he's a Scottish lad as well. So his question is, what to prioritise when starting out as a PT or online coach?
Now, this is me coming from a perspective where I'm not a personal trainer or an online coach. I do a little bit of accountability coaching for people who check in with me each week to see what they've done, but I'm not like giving them really strict nutritional guidelines or anything like that. That's not my qualification. I would say, from my perspective, having been in that space with regards to the social media side of things, but also have good friends in that industry, I would say the first thing we focus on is trying to get results for the people that you're working with, because that's going to build up a portfolio of testimonials in terms of people saying how good you were to work with. It's going to build up images and photos and transformations that you can share and showcase how good you are at making changes. And alongside that, I would say making sure that you've got a knowledge that you're confident that you can deliver a service that people will benefit from. And that's just for PT. When it comes to online coaching, I would say you absolutely need to have a foundation in personal training, or at least the ability to make transformations before you decide that you're going to become a laptop online coach, because that's not how things work. The most successful online coach that I know personally was 4 years in personal training, and he's now built up a hugely successful online coaching business. But people think it looks like an overnight success, but he in fact was hugely successful in the one-to-one space, and just transferred that knowledge and that approach to the online space, created his templates, created his documents, created his check-in systems, and then he's good to go. He just transfers it across. But the kind of the start point as a PT, I would say obviously try and build a reputation and be confident and knowledgeable in what you're trying to do. You're probably the best person to ask that question to, for John to ask that question to, because you're very much going through that. You're starting to establish a really strong brand as a PT, and you've got some online coaching going on alongside that, which continues to grow as at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's three things I would say. Firstly, like you said with Instagram, just start now. Like, don't. Sometimes when you transition to personal trainer, online coach as well, you're always going to have people from home, friends. They're straight away going to think, and it's going to be in your head. You're going to think like, what are they going to think, and everything like that. So the most important thing is to basically start now. Like, whatever you're doing, whether it's Instagram, just start producing content. As a personal trainer, it still applies to online coaching, but definitely as a one-to-one PT, like, you can have as much information as possible, but if you haven't got like the rapport with the client, if you can't get on with them, then it's like a lot of personal training. It's kind of half and half. You need the knowledge. It depends what client you have, of course, but if you can't like build a rapport, if you can't like have a relationship with them, you're not going to be a PT in it. It's as simple as that. I've come across. I've been a PT since October 2017. I've come across 15 PTs who just come and go. Not because they're useless or anything like that, but because like they're just I don't want to like be horrible or anything like that, but they're just a bit stale. It's the way of the business. Online coaching, you can get away with that. You don't have to show as much personality, but you have to build a rapport. And the third thing would be value. Like, you have to provide some kind of value. You have to keep kind of learning, and that kind of applies to starting now. Start applying value, get people to invest in you, and that's the thing with my online coaching as well. Like, I'm close to kind of double figures now, and it's kind of grown in the last 6 months, and that's because I've just provided value. I like to think that's how I got it. I like to provide value, and I've like basically built up a rapport before they've invested in me. So
you've been relentlessly consistent on Instagram with good quality content, and you're starting to showcase the results that you get online with people alongside your one-to-one results. That's the formula there for becoming a good online coach. And even then, with however many followers you've got, you need to convert those followers into customers if you want to be an online coach. And that's not something that happens just by nature of having a big following or a small following. It's just the nature of that process. Value, results, and rapport over a long period of time. Consistent.
So I didn't add the results bit in there. That's probably the key one. There was me like, okay, all of these things. Oh yeah, shit, results as well. Spot on. So last question, and this is a fantastic question. It'll be interesting to hear your thoughts. So your thoughts on how to not get stressed when managing everything, job/fitness, from someone called Sam.
Really, really good question, Sam, firstly, and hopefully some of the information we've gone through in the rest of the podcast will support what I'm going to say now. But I guess for me, in terms of managing stress, the absolute best thing you can do is one word, and that's action. So I have stressed about whether I'm going to fit in a training session before. I've stressed about what food I'm going to take with me, and that period of stress has done absolutely nothing for me. What has done something for me is when I've decided to take action. I've got my laptop out. I've looked at where I'm going to train. I've looked at when I'm going to train. I've adjusted my training split to make sure that I can do that. I've agreed with myself internally and within my calendar what days are going to be my rest days. I've planned what food I'm going to take with me. I've gone to the supermarket and I've bought the materials that I need. I've ordered the protein powder and the protein bars from online that I've required. I've got the shakes and the shaker, the Tupperware, and the materials that I need to do it. And that will relax you because you are actually moving towards a solution. You are solving those issues. You've taken action. If you stress about it and think about it too much, you won't move forward. The fact that you're stressed, it shows that you care about it, and that's a fantastic asset. What you need to then do is channel that stress and take action with regards to that. And some of the things that I've hopefully listed there and that Nathan and I have spoken about in the podcast within the last hour and a half will hopefully give you the ability to be less stressed about what it is you're doing and have actionable points for you to take away and solve some of the issues that you're finding when it comes to balancing your work and your career alongside fitness. Because fitness won't pay your bills unless you're an online coach or a personal trainer or a really big influencer. Your job will. So make sure that your fitness fits in around that in a way that doesn't detract from your job. And to do that, I would say that requires some planning, but importantly, some action once you've made those plans. So when you've planned that you're going to train at X gym or you're going to take this food with you, get up and do it. Don't just stress about the difficulties of it. Do it, and you'll get better at it over time. And in a couple of weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time, when you've been doing all these things and actioning all the tips that hopefully you've taken away from today, the stress level will be so much lower than it was when you first started.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, funny you say that, I think you did a post that recently about taking action, and absolutely spot on. I think that the more you do it on a frequent basis in terms of, planning, taking action, like you just said, you just get better at it. And I'm pretty sure, since you graduated 4.5 years later, you're much better at taking action now than when you first started.
Oh, hugely. Like I'm not preaching from a position where I think I'm better at taking action than anybody else, but when I first started, obviously I would stress. I'd be like, shit, when I'm going to train, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to have to eat, and what I'm going to take with me. And that did me no good, because what did me good was doing the research about where I'm going, what I'm going to have. Even if this was as simple as working in an office job, which I will be in a couple of weeks' time, majority of time based in an office, I'm going to be researching what facilities I've got to make food and keep food. I'm going to look at what gym I'm going to use either before or after work. I'm going to look at what my training split's going to be during that period. When am I going to be most optimal to train? What's my travel going to be like to and from work? Am I going to be commuting on the train? Is there parking nearby? Do I use that instead? And that will all take some planning, but ultimately what will get me to a position where it's going to be sustainable and successful for me is taking action in that respect. And it's not going to be me lying in bed at night thinking, shit, and next week I'm doing this, and I haven't got anything ready. That's fine. Like, don't worry about it that night. But when you wake up in the morning, best fucking believe that you're going to do something about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. I think for myself, sleep, time management is the two biggest. Yeah. Another day we'll talk about the podcast of on the Joe Rogan, Stephen Walker, Matthew Walker, something like that, Alan Walker. And yeah, time management. I think, like, whether you're a personal trainer, whether you've got another job and you've got so much to do, time management is key. And understand that there's more hours in the day. If you want to do like a 9 to 5, you want to fit everything into that, that's fine. But understand there's more hours in time. You can allocate a little bit on the weekends just to do work, a couple hour blitz. And the final question I'm going to ask, and this is from myself, with Brendan Rodgers now leaving, does that mean that Rangers are going to fucking power through Scottish football?
So we've taken big steps. Gerrard's done really well in his first
Smashed
year.
It, didn't
The big thing that he's done is instill more of a winning mentality. He's got a better squad than we had the last 2 years in the Premier League since we've come back up from our troubles, and Celtic have obviously got a massive head start in that respect. Gerrard, he's done excellently well. He's still learning, he still makes mistakes. I think there's a lot of things that he needs to improve on. He's got an excellent coaching team in behind him, so it's not just one man as a front man. He's very much the front of a team.
McAllister, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, Gary McAllister, who's the assistant manager, he's a boyhood Rangers fan, so that helps. We've got a guy called Michael Beale, who's very tactical. He's brilliant. He's very much the man behind the formation, the systems, and the play. Gerrard is very much the motivator, the media man, the press, and the kind of mindset side of things, along with some of the technical and football side of things as well. So I think we're much closer than we were. The run in Europe at the start of the season to qualify for the group stage was completely unprecedented. worth 15-20 million pounds to the club, which is invaluable, and then we didn't have to sell some of our better players. And the squad's much better in a position where I think in the summer, regardless of what happens between now and then, we probably need to add 4 or 5 quality players rather than what we've done the last 3 years, which has been like 10, 12 additions and just hope upon hope that it sticks. So we've got the basis of a good squad. We have a huge game next Tuesday night against Aberdeen, which is a replay of the Scottish Cup quarter-final. If we win, we play Celtic in the semi-final, and the Scottish Cup's going to be the best chance for us to win a major trophy this year, because at the moment in the league we're 8 points behind, and it would take a colossal effort to overcome that. But for a Rangers fan, it's very difficult to ever accept second, but I would accept that we're building this year. For the first time, I would say, understand that we're going to potentially finish second, but we're building, and there's signs that next year I fully expect Rangers to either very closely challenge or to win the league, along with 1 or 2 of the cup trophies. But this season, there's a good chance for us to win the Scottish Cup and continue to challenge Celtic and put real pressure on them, because Rangers belong at the highest level of Scottish football and European football, although that's very difficult now with the nature of the money in the Champions League and the Europa League even. But we're back on the right tracks, mate, and hopefully we'll be celebrating our 55th league title in either this May or May 2020.
It's coming, mate. It's absolutely coming. Legend, mate. Thank you so much for coming on, bro. I really, really appreciate that. And in terms of giving your insight, like I said, I think this is like my 13th, 14th podcast with somebody else. I think I said you're the first like non-personal trainer, and it just goes to show that like you're like just what you're speaking about there, the value, the quality that you give. You know, you don't need to be a personal trainer to start now. So if you're listening to this, and you're not a personal trainer and you want to start helping people, then just follow, Colin's suit and just fucking start now, because I always say qualification don't mean shit. It's what you give, take an action, like you said. So, but no, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
No, absolute pleasure, Nathan, and I look forward to listening back to my dulcet tones when it gets released.
This is my Friday night sorted, mate. We're just going to sit down and listen to this and put it on the big screen.
Thanks, Nathan. Speak to you soon, mate.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
mate. Cheers, mate.